After you defeat Limbo Info Matrix, you'll gain access to the Glacial Fortress, also known as the Ice Wing, through the Limbo's exit portal. Each wing has its own zone-wide mechanic. For Ice Wing, every trash pack leaves behind a large ice patch at the location of the last mob to die. The ice patches cause players to stutter or fly across, sometimes off the cliffs or into a wall. Ice patches are generally inconsequential and often hilarious, but take caution not to drop ice patches anywhere near the mini-bosses. There are also ice tornadoes that throw you around if you get in its path, but they do not path into the mini-boss areas. Note that you cannot skip the trash using a Stalker Scientist, as engaging a mini-boss causes all the trash packs before it to aggro. The first mini-boss you'll encounter is the Frost-boulder Avalanche No. 1. My guild uses a stack and cleave strat for all 3 mini-bosses in the Ice Wing, as it makes them infinitely easier to deal with. Further, defeating Avalanche No. 1 in under 2 minutes will give you the cool running challenge and 2 extra loots. I recommend bringing 5 to 6 healers and rain damage mitigation such as defense grids and taunts for this fight. Every class that can bring a cleanse should do so. No interrupts are necessary. Like all mini-bosses in this instance, Avalanche auto-attacks in a frontal cleave, so stay away from the tanks. Let the tank position Avalanche in the center and stack behind the boss. Upon engagement, Avalanche will cast Frostbite, and 1.8 uninterruptible cast that puts a dot on every member of the raid that does a small amount of damage every second until it is cleansed. Next, it'll cast Icicle Storm, which puts a circular telegraph on the 4 random players in the raid that leaves swirling icicles after the cast is complete. Have those with a telegraph stack up behind the boss, while when the icicles appear and cleave them down. Avalanche will follow Icicle Storm with Clobber, a 3-second uninterruptible cast that causes the boss to turn to a random member into a 180-degree frontal cleave, dealing massive damage and knocking back those inside. Simply roll to the other side of the cleave through the boss. At approximately 78%, Avalanche will begin casting Cyclone, a 3-second cast that creates a fast spinning maze around Avalanche, dealing substantial damage every tick to those caught inside the telegraph. Cyclone lasts for 23 seconds. Instead of running the maze, the raid should simply stack up, pop mitigation abilities and heal through the damage. Bring additional healers if you need to. After Cyclone, the boss will enter a 10-second moment of opportunity, followed immediately by Clobber. Depending on your raid DPS, Avalanche will either cast another Cyclone immediately or alternate between Frostbite, Icicle Storm, and Clobber until it reaches approximately 55%, where it will cast the second Cyclone. Avalanche will continue to cycle through its abilities and cast its third Cyclone at approximately 30%. Note that it is possible to get more Cyclones if you take too long to kill the Avalanche. The second mini-boss is Frost-boulder Avalanche No. 2. This Avalanche is largely the same as the first one, so bring the same raid composition. In addition to the abilities previously mentioned, also bring your CC breaks for this mini-boss. Normally this Avalanche does not cast Frostbite, but on the very first pull of the instance it will do so at engagement. Frostbite will be followed by Clobber, the most likely Cyclone. Instead of Icicle Storm, Avalanche No. 2 can cast Crystallize, which places 4 random raid members into ice blocks. Crystallize is immediately followed by Shatter, a 3.5-second uninterruptible cast that will cause the ice blocks to explode, dealing massive damage in a circular telegraph. The raid should be lightly spread in anticipation of Crystallize, as the formation of ice blocks deal AoE damage to those around the targeted players. Those ice blocks should then use their CC break and dodge out of the shattered telegraphs. Avalanche No. 2 likewise cycles through its abilities and casts Cyclones at approximately 78%, 55%, and 30%. The last mini-boss is Frostbringer Warlock. Bring the same raid composition as before with 1 additional tank. Cleanses or CC breaks are not needed for this fight. I recommend positioning the Warlock face towards a wall while having the raid stack behind it. Warlock attacks in a frontal cleave and has several abilities. First is Piercing Ice, which are line telegraphs that appear across the encounter area then deal damage after the telegraphs are complete. The placement of those telegraphs are constant, so you can find safe spots between the lines to stand out. Second is Exploding Ice, which is similar to the Eye of the Storm from Storm Talon's lair. It puts a circular safe zone on a random player in the raid and detonates the remaining area after a 5-second cast. Everyone, including the tanks, should stack inside the safe zone until the cast is finished. Third is Glaciate, which causes Warlock to ice block the person on top of the threat list and 2 furthest member of the raid. The ice blocks do not have a lot of health points and can be cleaved down rather easily. Finally, every 30 seconds, Warlock will return to its spawn spot and summon frost waves at the raid for 30 seconds. The waves are similar to that of the fire waves in the Sanctuary of Sword Maiden. My raid simply stacks in the middle and heals through the waves while damaging the boss. Once the Warlock goes below 20% health points, he will lose the ability to cast Exploding Ice, but will instead cast single frost waves every few seconds until he is dead. Note that players in the ice blocks are immune to the frost waves damage. Once you defeat Frostbringer Warlock, a bridge leading to the exit portal will appear, taking you to Maelstrom Authority. And that's it for Glacial Fortress. Stay tuned for more Datascape guides.